Concluding the second day of the 10th anniversary of New Voices, we've had just an absolutely stupendous 2 days, such wonderful readings from our authors. We just had an absolutely fantastic creative project inspired by the words of the authors that involved dance and spoken word and video. And I think we're all feeling pretty inspired, and I'm very excited to introduce our readers tonight, who will be properly introduced by their student guides who have been working on introductions, having read the works of their authors in the New Voices seminar, and now getting a chance to meet them and introduce them here. So tonight you will be hearing from, in this order, Mona Awad, Gina Nutt, and Maya Phillips. And I just wanted to point out that we have these scheduling cards, and if you don't have one and would like one, they list all of our events, which we have a full day tomorrow that includes another reading like this one from another 3 of our writers, and also a staged reading of the play of our playwright, Dr. Ride's America Beach House, which will be at the Cherry Theater downtown, which is quite easy to get to. It's just behind Wegmans on Cherry Street. So, and if you're a student and you need a ride or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out to one of the guides in a blue shirt and they can help you out. Speaking of which, I just want to recognize our amazing student guides who've been doing so much work for these 2 days, and thank you for just making everything happen. We absolutely could not do it without you. So, without further ado, will the guide for Mona Awad.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michaela Tolliver, and I'm introducing the award-winning author Mona Awad. I'm a sophomore writing major with a concentration in creative writing, and I'm happy to be welcoming Mona to Ithaca College. Mona Awad is a Canadian-born author who earned an MFA in fiction from Brown University. She has also completed a PhD in creative writing and English literature at the University of Denver. As of currently, Mona works as an assistant professor in the creative writing program at Syracuse University and resides in Boston. Mona is the author of the novels 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl, Bunny, and All Is Well. She has won awards such as the Best Book of 2019 by Time, Vogue, and the New York Public Library. She has also won the Amazon Best First Novel Award and the Colorado Book Award. Additionally, she has been shortlisted for the Giller Prize and the Arab American Book Award. Her latest novel, All's Well, explores themes of performance, beauty, and female suffering, all points of contention in our current society. The main character, Miranda, is a vibrant, troubled character who attempts to overcome the struggles and expectations of living with chronic pain while directing a college production of All's Well That Ends Well. We watch Miranda try to function in her everyday life while living with pain. As stated in the book, maybe she is one of the nerve women, women of the invisible pain. Women alike with blinking red webs, no spider in sight, but the web is there. This novel speaks to the expectation that women must be beautiful if they look healthy, while undercutting the reality of invisible pain. When asked about her writing process, Mona shared that if she's not teaching, then she writes every day from morning to afternoon. She explained how she'll spend the afternoon going for walks, reading, and watching movies as a form of inspiration or mesmerism, as Mona puts it. She did this process with All Is Well, which she finished writing a draft for in 5 to 6 weeks. Mona said that I always feel like there's a story I have to tell, which is evident in her work in which so many people have connected with her stories. Mona is a highly accomplished author and writer who knows the importance of not stepping away from a piece you feel passionate about. Lauren Groff, New York Times bestselling author, describes Awad's All Is Well as wild, exhilarating, and so fresh it takes your breath away. Tonight, Awad will be reading a chosen segment of her work. Please join me in welcoming Mona to the stage.
Okay, so I think tonight, since I know that you've read All's Well, I'm going to read a little bit of Bunny. So Bunny is a novel, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. It's a novel about an MFA program in New England at an Ivy League college. And it's about this outsider student named Samantha, who is in this cohort of girls who call each other Bunny. these MFA students who call each other Bunny, and who conjure men out of rabbits in these ritualistic off-campus workshops. And so Samantha gets involved with these girls, and then it gets weird. So I will read from the opening, and then I'll read a little bit in the middle. So in the opening, it's fall. It's the second year that they're all in this MFA program, and Samantha's at a party, a welcome back party at the school, and she sees the bunnies from across the way, and she's just feeling all the feelings. We call them bunnies because that is what they call each other. Seriously, Bunny. Example. Hi, Bunny. Hi, Bunny. What did you do last night, Bunny? I hung out with you, Bunny. That's right, Bunny. You hung out with me, and it was the best time I ever had. Bunny, I love you. I love you, Bunny. And then they hug each other so hard, I think their chests are going to implode. I would even secretly hope for it. And where I stood, leaned in the opposite corner of the lecture hall, department lounge, auditorium, bearing witness to 4 grown women, my academic peers, cooingly strangle each other hello, or goodbye, or just because you're so amazing. How fiercely they gripped each other's pink and white bodies, forming a hot little circle of such rib-crushing love and understanding, it took my breath away. And then the nuzzling of ski jump noses, peach fuzzy cheeks, temples pressed against temples in a way that made me think of the labial rubbing of the bonobo, or the telepathy of beautiful, murderous children in horror films. All 8 of their eyes shut tight as if this collective asphyxiation were a kind of religious bliss. All 4 of their glossy mouths making squealing sounds of monstrous love that hurt my face. I love you, Bunny. I quietly prayed for the hug implosion all year last year, that their ardent squeezing might cause the flesh to ooze from the sleeves, neck holes, and A-line hems of their cupcake dresses like so much inane frosting. That they would get tangled in each other's Game of Thrones hair, choked by the ornate braids they were forever braiding into each other's heart-shaped little heads. That they would choke on each other's blandly grassy perfume. Never happened. Not once. They always came apart from these embraces intact and unwounded, despite the ill will that poured forth from my staring eyes like so much comic book villain venom. Smiling at one another, swinging clasped hands, skins aglow with affection and belonging as though they'd just been hydrated by the purest of mountain streams. Bunny, I love you. Completely immune to the disdain of their fellow graduate student, me, Samantha Heather Mackey, who is not a bunny, who will never be a bunny. Okay, and so now I'm going to move to a scene where she is a bunny. So this is kind of in the second person, and it's like this group thing. It's all the bunnies kind of thinking together. We hug on the velvety green among the cherry blossom trees. We link arms. We close our eyes the better to feel each other's bodies. We form a hot little circle of love and understanding. We press our faces into our faces, our cheeks against our cheeks, our eyelashes tickling our skins like little hummingbird wings, like bunny nose twitches. Oh, Bunny, I love you. I love you, Bunny. We cannot say how long we have been here hugging like this, because it is that time of day where we thank each other for breathing. Post-workshop hug time, a hug to take away all of our alleys. The ones that come with sharing your story, aka soul, in a classroom setting. Though today, you really don't. You were so brilliant and cave today. We were such bright, shining lights. We were so the daughters of Wolf. We chose Venus. In fact, halfway through the class, we had to put on sunglasses to shield our eyes from how bright our stars were. We told each other, Bunny, you are so brilliant. You are so famous and waiting. Can we have your autograph now? The poets, aka the reptile people, hugging on the ring. They are getting out of their own workshop with their Professor Silky, Caracare's husband, who wants to have sex with us so badly and has made this known in so many silky, nonverbal ways. The poets are on their way to get beers in the basement bar across the street, which smells of stale kegs and fake cheese. They stare at us with judgy eyes as they pass, grunting nobly in their fake poor clothes. They think we have such stupid rules. The way we hug each other so much. The way we sometimes groom each other at their lame parties by the light of their lame fires, while they roll and roll their eyes until only the light show. The way we do not want to talk about scansion. The way we do not wish to pretend to be poor. Sorry, well, most of us. Or is it our amazingly empathic hive mind that we make by hugging so that we become one of those animals with a brain and heart in each tentacle that connects to a bigger cosmic heart brain that is like a shared, all-seeing third eye? Who knows? Who cares? Fuck you, poets. You are so smart, so cool with your word art. You have no idea. Can you conjure hybrid spaces? Can you perform the body and have the body perform literally? Can you make a Viking masseuse, a pre-TV Keats, a talking Tim Riggins? Can you make a bunny explode with the combined force of your 8 eyes? 10 bunny, your eyes too. It is so amazing to see the bunny explode, by the way. We are barely even grossed out anymore. Now we light a cigarette with the guts still in our hair, and we lean against Bunny's bloody shoulder, and we wait for the knock on the door. It is so amazing when we hear the sound. It is so amazing to see a boy of flesh smiling at us where a bunny used to be. Hello, Samantha, he'll say. Tell me everything. Not a boy, Bunny, remember, a hybrid or a darling or a draft. We keep telling you. It makes us feel a little like God. No, we can't go that far. In fact, we are a little fearful of God right now, if he's out there. She, Bunny, if she's out there. Or it. We like to think of it more as an energy. And don't worry, it would approve. So approve of us. Because look at what we just did. Look at them. So what if they all look the same? Like Cape Cod in boy form. Sometimes like the classic film stars or fairy tale princes of yesteryear. So what if they all say the same things? Tell me everything. Your beauty is like screaming, like Proust, like a Frenchy film, complete with soundtrack. You're a daughter of wolf. So what if anatomically there are some things missing? Essential things, like hands, genitals, an untwisted mouth, possibly a soul. Still, it's a good start. We'll get better. In the meantime, look, he is holding an orchid just for us, which, if we take it from him quickly, he won't eat first. He is brushing our hair, doing it so tenderly. He doesn't mean to rub the brush handle against our scalp at all. He is painting strange flowers and blobby birds on our fingernails. He is saying we are so beautiful and wild, like the black moors of the Brontes. He is saying our talents are as deep as the North Sea. He is saying, love your dress. He is saying, Pinkberry, would you like some? He is helping us in the kitchen to make light and sunnies or Lady Grey tea. And so what if he is more trouble than he is help? So what if he cries when we say, will you fuck us? So what if he explodes when we say, tell me something about you? It's amazing what it promises. We're not bored in the slightest, ever. We're blown away. We go to Mini and order everything on the menu. Mini fries, mini shakes, mini wings, which are the wings from super small birds. We know the boy in the back who pulls them off their tiny bodies. One of ours that was spared the axe. He doesn't even flinch when he tells us about it, even though we are like, ew, 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 stop it. We forget his name, maybe Hotspur or Roombo the Sixth, or was it Bjork? The ones that don't work out for us for a number of reasons, we let go. Really, it's the best thing for them, Bunny says. The ones who bite, the ones who scream, usually get the axe, unless Bunny is too tired to put on her apron. Then they go in the basement for a while, until Bunny feels like taking a long drive. That's when you leave them out the back door at a very dark hour. We drag them out to a field or a warehouse area on the west side and drop them off. Bunny says we're setting them free. Usually Bunny takes them because she has the SUV and the strongest emotional constitution. We went with her once. Keep me company, Bunny, Bunny said. And after that, we can go for drive-through fries. Okay, Bunny, we said. But it was not a nice drive. What with the whimpering boys, the whimpering hybrids, Bunny, in the trunk, whimpering their scrambled words. Hunch you I will. Everything tell me. Virginia Woolf is not your daughter. I sentence you to a nuanced labyrinth. Bunny tried to drown them out by cranking her cherubic harp music, but we could still hear them. Why do we have to take them so far, we asked her. Bunny, they already told you. Otherwise they come back. Is that really ethical though, Bunny? Just take them to the other side of town and leave them there? If they're dangerous? If they have nowhere to go? Ethical? Bunny repeated, like she'd never heard the word, even though obviously she had. She was so smart. She has been going to the best schools of the world since she was 5. She could play the oboe, and she can fence, and she speaks 3 dead languages. Ethical, Bunny said, like we'd made the word up. Like it was just some silly monster we were trying to make out of our own hair, which she herself lovingly braided for us. She stared at the windshield. Uh-oh, we upset her. Don't be upset, Bunny. We think of it as art meets life, Bunny. We're putting art into the world. It's like a living, interactive installation, you know. But I mean, if you'd rather kill them, you go right ahead, Bunny. No, that's okay. We can't bring ourselves to brandish an axe just yet. Bunny knows that. We have nightmares every night as it is. Bunny knows that too. And who is there for us when we wake up? Bunny is. Shh, Bunny will say, stroking our damp forehead, our sticky braids, putting her hand on our heart to stop it from beating. Take these. They'll help you sleep. She turned up the cherubic harp music. Each song is 20 minutes long and meanders like a bitchy cat. The woman's high, folksy voice hurts our teeth, but we would never tell Bunny this. We said, we love this song so much, but Bunny wasn't listening. Bunny was singing along in her own high voice. Cherubic harp music is her very favorite. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Zagum, and I am a first-year writing for film student at Ithaca College, and I am the student guide for Gina Nutt. Gina Nutt is an upstate New York native who attended Syracuse University for her undergraduate degree. Having published a full-length poetry book called Wilderness Champion, as well as 2 chapbooks, Nutt followed these up with a collection of linked essays, or lyrical memoirs, as we heard today, titled Night Rooms. Gina creates a unique tone that straddles between beauty and loss throughout her essays. Gina writes about the importance of grief, her personal experiences with loss, her fascination with the horror movie genre. Night Rooms delivers consistent and impactful lines, shown in the opening words, I used to imagine wanting someone alive would revive them, if caught right after dying. If I went after them, buoyed by reflexive hope, I might bring them back. She employs a braided essay style, balancing scenes of death and loss with seemingly incongruous subjects like beauty pageants, Dario Argento's Suspiria, and much more. Nutt's writing is unlike anything I have ever encountered before, with a mesmerizing delivery of albeit terrible topics. One review described the book as vulnerable, cinematic, and positively transcendent, and I couldn't agree more. The deep conversation that our New Voices class had after its reading made for incredible and deep analysis, and those conversations will stay with me for quite a long time. This book is a work of art that perfectly encapsulates the path of grief and how it is not necessarily a linear one. It is now my great pleasure to welcome Gina Nutt to the 2022 New Voices Festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. That was so lovely. I also cherished our conversation weeks ago in which we got to discuss metal.
Yeah.
That was quite lovely. And thank you everyone for all the hard work you put into this and for having me. It's really lovely. I've lived in Ithaca for 10 years now, so to be part of this festival and standing here with this book is really, really special to me. So thank you. Before I read from Night Rooms, I just want to read a 4-line poem by the late poet Molly Brodak. We talked a lot earlier today about grief and loss, and one thing I think of when I think of writers and community is how we keep a light on for each other even after we depart. So this is called How to Not Be a Perfectionist. People are vivid and small and don't live very long. And that was Molly Brodak, and I highly recommend you read anything you can find of hers. So I'm just going to read from the first essay in the collection. I used to imagine wanting someone alive would revive them if caught right after dying. If I went after them buoyed by reflexive hope, I might bring them back. Like losing something, a bracelet, a pair of sunglasses, a plastic sandal over the side of a boat, seeing the outline dim as it sinks. I'd flood with instinct, dive in the water right away, head first, to retrieve what was lost. If I look at the sky at the right moment, evening and morning mirror each other, the light, the sky, the air's vague smell. A hazy line blurs the intervals, deepens my readiness to disorient myself, to lean deeper into dreams where I am falling and feel awake. I have become acquainted with the creature feature. Life emerged from lake or sea, an isolated town, a gash in Arctic ice, ugly, ancient, miraculous. Some living thing scientists have not yet discovered. Some living thing scientists created or found and hid. How body horror wrecks the human form, an infection, a botched experiment, the skin newly revised, a brilliant rash, cracking dryness, molded to accommodate a larger shape, eyes bloodshot or jaundiced, blacked through by change, pupils dilated wide, irises pressed into rings too thin to see, the spine, a seam where a costume zipper may hide. I have watched rituals summon the supernatural and accidents awaken ghosts. Someone calls back from beyond the grave. Sometimes they take someone back with them. Zombie and vampire films are familiar, infectious bites and apocalypse templates, eternal afterlife outlines for the undead, survival strategies for the living, occasions for a slasher, slumber party, football game, summer camp, sorority, cabin getaway, a too perfect to be real small town, often harboring secrets. A dream becomes a nightmare. First times, making love in cars, on basement couches, living room couches, in the woods, holidays and celebrations, Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day, birthdays, graduation, prom. Events inspiring chainsaw massacres, summer vacation, a road trip, a cannibal family living in a house of hoarded, dusty objects collected from victims. Almost everyone dies. Someone gets away in the end, but not really, because the driver in the flagged-down car is a villain, or the survivor goes to a hospital, and when she stares out the window, all she sees is a sunset and a fence, a man in a suit, tie, and white shirt. The man swings a chainsaw at the horizon. The blade splits the sky from the earth. Someone noted as we walked around the city together that I ran across the crosswalk when the pedestrian light changed. Scamper, 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 he sweetly teased. Breaking the habit is tough, my husband knows. He reassures me, you don't have to run. Hands cupped as if asking for a communion wafer, I crept into the kitchen from the garage, approached my mother to show her what I found. The mouse was tiny and brown. The mouse was dead, and I hadn't known. This is a story I have been told. I don't remember being there. Hearing the memory is like listening to someone describe a movie I can't remember seeing. I remember the afternoon I set a butterfly in a dollhouse. The wings flickered and flattened, a black and orange mosaic like Halloween decorations laid in a box for storage. I ran the elevator, thinking one motion may inspire another, a domino effect, or seeing an object and finding the word to name it. Plate, book, door. Whichever parent noticed may not have said dead, but this is as far back as I grasped the word uniting with the act. On its own, dead seemed inert and distant, different from understanding what it means to die, the feeling of being a witness. The still wings unfolded a familiar fall in me. I sensed it watching a girl and her dog run from a funnel the sky focused on Kansas, an orange cat in a box floating down the river, missing his dog friend, listening to night sounds, a sea witch rising from ocean depths. I felt it when I saw night darken the golf course beyond the backyard, and the photo of a bicycle found by a girl and her school picture in the paper. My parents' warning someone could take me. The feeling may have been dread, a widening twinge, an ache I felt but could not name. The cartoon Wolf movie is streaming this month. The birthday I turned 11, my mother's boyfriend hauled sound and light equipment from work into our living room for a party. He spelled my nickname in neon light on the wall. I wore an outfit from Limited 2, my hair scrunchied in a ponytail. A boy with a bowl haircut gifted the cartoon Wolf movie. I added the tape to my family's video shelves and didn't watch it. I still have it in a bin in my basement. I worked for my English teacher during 8th grade study hall, stapled packets and hole-punched worksheets to snap in 3-ring binders. She brought me Snowball snack cakes, and the week the boy with the bowl haircut took his life, I arrived at the study hall to work instead of attending the wake with my classmates. My teacher seemed surprised. My mother may have called the wake morbid. By then I knew about my great-uncle's death. A principal dancer for the San Francisco Ballet, he died by suicide during the company's 1969 run of the Nutcracker. I'd researched and written about him for projects and reports because as a young girl, I too aspired to dance. My grandmother, who was his sister, humored my interviews, though I questioned whether all of her stories were true, like the one in which my great-uncle danced on a cable atop the Golden Gate Bridge for a variety show. I craved a full picture of his inner weather. I wanted to hear something different and better understand. I wanted him alive for the brief spell earned when talking about someone who is dead. I've heard each time a person remembers or shares a recollection, the mind archives the recall. The telling becomes a memory. New details emerge or sharpen, others blur or fade. A Syracuse news clip from December 1986 shows a shopping mall, a movie theater marquee, titles, times, ratings, lights aglow, framed film posters. The anchor describes a holiday boost in shopping and movie attendance. Nat Tobin from USA Cinemas credits the surge in moviegoers to producers who are making a variety of movies that offer an alternative to what's already on cable and available for home video systems. So while producers may turn out more blockbusters, only time will tell if they'll be as successful as some of the old classics. The anchor highlights forthcoming films. One clip shows a monstrous plant in a flower shop belting a plea for human blood. The plant stems and leaves wave, its giant puppet mouth flaps. Preference and context may influence a personal canon. The things we like matter as much as the things we experience, or the moment we see or rewatch a film. I plug in my laptop, click on the TV. Repetition is not new. Titanic's home video release came as 2 tapes. I watched so many times the VCR choked on the first one, and my mother pried it out with a screwdriver. I play something familiar, a movie or show I've already seen. I repeat seasons. I've stopped counting how many times. I don't think I ever counted. I don't call this catharsis. It's closer to the feeling I get watching a slow burn, how the movie expands my capacity for dread as it delays a jump scare or reveal. In Scream, the horror nerd who works at the video store and drops genre tropes and rules throughout the movie says, "It's the millennium. Motives are incidental." I may say an intersection is not a sameness. Movies aren't life. but recognizable flickers, events witnessed or experienced. A tape rewinds, the images replay. What fades? What is apparent this time, and what did I miss before? An index can obscure a feeling, a catalog can footnote specificity. Both things can be true. The composer John Williams says of music in movies, it's one of the beauties of the film medium that it's the combination of the visual and the situation combined with the notes. That combination of sound and image forming a memory. A man approaches a beautiful woman in a mint green bathtub in a vast old hotel. A boy peers over the edge of his bed to gleeful laughter. A swimmer's legs kick through water, deep ocean floor thumping, and orchestra accelerates. No matter how many times I watch these scenes, I still hold my breath. I may be waiting or hoping something different will happen. I know another fin may appear on the horizon. My impulse to think sharp, when the fin could belong to a dolphin. I used to imagine I'd say goodbye to everyone. A woman or girl alive when the horror movie's credits roll joins an ancestry of women and girls who have done the same. They make a lineage of final girls. Each outlasted a struggle knowing she'd die someday, that anyone's immediate survival is only as urgent as the danger before them. A rope split the shallow end from the deep. I sat on the diving board, kicking my toes in the water while my brother cleaned the pool. I had on a blue jumper with a whale my mother painted on the front pocket. My brother swept the net through the water. He raised the skimmer, palmed a frog. Reaching for it, I fell in. My dress billowed around me. I saw the sky and sun clear through the water. I didn't think of swimming or drowning. The movements I learned in swim class were taught at the surface. My sinking happened below, too fast to pick a stroke. It almost didn't seem to be happening at all. I let myself fall back, like action playing backward on a screen as a tape rewinds, slipping into the VCR's hum and whir. If we attach ourselves to art, maybe art can attach itself to us. Do I find the movies, or do they find me? I am making a lineage of what lingers. I am trying not to be afraid anymore. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is April Morales. I am a sophomore writing major here at Ithaca College, and I have the absolute honor of introducing the prolific critic and poet Maya Phillips. She received her MFA from Warren Wilson's MFA program for writers, was a finalist for the PEN Open Book Award, and won the 2021 George Jean Nathan Award for Dramatic Criticism from Cornell. Very long sentence. Currently a critic at large for the New York Times, her job is to share her opinion on some of the most influential and standout works of modern pop culture, which makes her upcoming work, Nerd, Adventures in Fandom, From This Universe to the Multiverse, an exciting critical collection. Phillips' critical work often centers on media that is pushing the boundaries of its form and is deeply informed by history and classical texts. The very same can be said of her debut collection of poetry, Erou. In it, Phillips carefully crafts her own Greek epic poem, modeled after the tales of Persephone and Hades, Medea, and others, to recreate the complex image of her father after his passing. I was struck by the raw, deeply personal vulnerability and openness of Phillips' poetry from the very beginning of the collection. One of my personal favorites of the collection is January 3rd, 2015. It brought me to tears with the honest grief that comes after losing a loved one. In breaking down this intense moment in terms of numbers, Phillips leaves room for the raw pain to bleed through. Here's a line from the poem. 3 years since the first poem, and there have been poems, and will be poems, but no father today, of the 52 would-be birthday candles. I had to physically walk away and prepare myself for the emotional journey that Phillips was ready to ferry me along on. And I am not the only one intensely affected by Erou. Poet and editor Terrence Hayes writes, "The poetry of Maya Phillips is full of unforgettable imagery, wordplay, and candor. She writes with a clarity that can cut as quickly as it palms. The deconstruction and rebuilding of the image of her father from childhood to death through experimental silences and gaps in her poetry brings sympathy and understanding to previously untouchable villainous figures in my own life. With that, please join me in welcoming Maya Phillips to the stage.
Thanks so much, April. And thank you for having me here. It's really an honor to be in the company of such really talented writers. We're just like a bunch of brilliant women here, so I'm really happy about that. I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna read something from my next project. It was just our conversation. Oh yeah, I'm like on my tippy toes. I'm so short.
I feel ya. I don't need to stand next to this. Maybe it doesn't want to do it. Just put it to the side. Let's do that. Do you want to do it?
Yeah, I just feel really sad about my height right now. No, it's okay. Usually I'm okay with it, but okay. So I'm gonna read something from my next project, which it's really weird to describe, but there's a text, a very old text that's called The Anatomy of Melancholy. And I wanted to kind of do an updated version of that, and it's a super hybrid text. It's something between criticism and poetry, and I don't know, it's kind of nonfiction. There's a lot of research involved too, but it's all over the place. But it's just thinking about grief and loss, like it's an obsession of mine. So I'm gonna read just like 2 short sections of this. On the melancholies of space. Source: hunting for a giant black hole, astronomers found a nest of darkness. That's written by Dennis Overby from the New York Times, February 26, 2021. It shouldn't be so unbelievable that one darkness may obscure another. The article's headline introduces the subject via metaphor, describing the gathering of black holes within another as a nest, which recalls the residences of birds and many other mammals. The behavior recalls the living, which is ironic, as something that devours all attitudes of life which share the shape those lives take. A bevy of black holes sitting within the belly of another, a gestation of pitch. Overby calls them baby monsters as a metaphor because metaphor is another way of naming so we can speak the same language. Because we don't know how to speak of the breathless dark, which is immaterial, so we call it monsters. Because monsters are material when we dream them so. Because they are legion, what preys along the seams of our lives, and universal language for fear. So these black holes are tiny appetites tucked into a nest. Overby also calls them dark engines of annihilation. Engines implying machinery, a driving force, but if so, from where? If this is simply the order of the universe, then is this a universe of nothing so powerful they unmake the dreams of God? Simply the question is a melancholy. In a kind of cinema, stars somewhere are dying, collapsing in on themselves. We have a different language for mourning. Again, this is a metaphor. This is also a fact, that the science of stars is itself a melancholy. That for every radiant sun, there are countless roots to an insatiable night. That in a vacuum of space, even the sound of goodbye is extinguished. That not even a breath translates. And this is a metaphor to say that even nature makes its own melancholy, as though one day it looked at the immeasurable grace of itself and said, no, it was much too much. Yeah, this is like me going the opposite direction when you guys were like, oh, that was a fun panel earlier. This is me just being sad now. This is a brief analysis of the worry box methodology. Considering the psychological exercise of placing a negative emotion in a box and discarding it. Disavowal. This method is untenable once examined further. For the exercise to begin, you must place your melancholy, which means it must have a form and a location, but all you know of your melancholy's shape and position is yourself. And as for its size, you imagine its volume can't be larger than you, because an object's volume can't be larger than that of its container or it will get displaced. So we've learned from Archimedes. But when your melancholy is in you and also everywhere else, how does science account for the contradiction? So if the melancholy is something to be placed, and you place it in a box that can accommodate its size, then what if melancholy, you discover, is not just the contents of the box, but the box itself, the limitations? And you imagine yourself suffocating in the box, though you are meant to be placed in the box and throw it away. And if it's not just inside the box, but the box, and if you try burying it, then the dirt too is a melancholy for the depression you made of it, how you took part of it and tossed it carelessly aside. And if you place the box in the hole in the dirt, and that is all your melancholy, and you replace the dirt, then your melancholy is a small grave, and your melancholy is a grief with nothing inside. And you know because you forget occasionally and search for it again. Dig it up and open the lid of the box, expecting something so large the world couldn't possibly contain it. But then it is nothing, and you can't put a word to this heartbreak. Or perhaps you can. Silence. Oh, I didn't. That was not me trying to coerce you into clapping. That was just me having an uncomfortable moment. But thank you. All right, now I'm going to read something like more chipper. So I'm going to read you the introduction to Nerd, my book of criticism. It is also kind of a hybrid. I've been really into hybrid forms, so it's been really exciting to be here among other artists who are also doing hybrid forms and are just talented in various ways. So this is mostly criticism, but it's also kind of memoir. It's my personal relationship to these fandoms. So, introduction. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Let's begin there. It's as good a place as any. I've never been a big fan of beginnings. Give me a good ending any day. The grand wake and procession for Morpheus, the king of dreams. Gandalf, Frodo, and Bilbo cruising off to the afterlife. But if we must begin, let's begin here, at a distance, sometime in the past, and not so far, far away as a galaxy, but maybe the next borough or state, or the opposite coast, or even, reader, maybe some other large expanse of land or body of water. If you're not nearby, sorry to make you travel, but we're gonna start in New York. It's 1996, more or less, so let's say 1996. And let's say it's summer, because who can resist the soft warmth of a mid-June or early July day? Early summer, 1996, late morning in my parents' bedroom. It's bright outside with some cover, though we can see only little whispers of light through the half-open blinds. The bedspread is untidy, which my mother hates, but this bit of lived-in mess is a small comfort on a weekend. These kinds of mornings I pluck from memory. They're always on a Saturday, when there's no school and, sure, there are weekend chores to be done to a soundtrack of kid pop hits on Radio Disney, but before then is a lineup of superhero cartoons and maybe even a movie. If you look to my right, upon a cocoa brown shag carpet, as I said, we're in the 90s, my parents have a stack of movies lined up by the TV set, The Leaning Tower of Pisa, if Long Island at all resembled Italy, and if the tower were made up of miscellaneous VHS tapes. But somewhere in that stack of workout tape and birthday video Jenga is a box set of 3 videos. When I say I learned early the beauty of a 3-movie box set, before Peter Jackson could even dream of the farthest reaches of Mordor, I mean to say that I believed in the holy power of a trinity. I believed in the ceremony of sliding each video out of the box and out of its individual cardboard sleeve, an image of Darth Vader's helmet blazing on the front of the collection. I'm watching The Empire Strikes Back, the early scenes on the Arctic planet Hoth on this summer day, and I'm unbothered, unworried, as I watch Luke in the cave of an abominable space snowman. Though I'm only 6, I'm not scared, because all this feels familiar in this echo chamber of memory. I've already witnessed this scene countless times before. If this wasn't my earliest brush with fandom, it was certainly one of the first. Luke Skywalker with his floppy hair and doofy lackadaisical strut was my first crush. I also envied him. I wanted to be someone meant for adventures beyond the home where she was raised, someone meant for the stars and tests of courage and integrity. I wanted to have the universe crack open and reveal to me all of its impossibilities, which would look something like magic. Luke Skywalker wasn't the roguish Han Solo, stylishly cynical and nonplussed, or the headstrong Leia, spirited and worldly, already a leader in the Resistance, but a farm boy, about to have his world broadened to a story so much larger than his own. I won't say that all fandoms are connected, that flipping open one comic book will then initiate you into everything from Akira to Batman Beyond. And perhaps it wasn't quite that way for me. But I do see my fandoms as linked, like stars in a constellation, Tatooine to the Moon Kingdom in the Silver Millennium, to Gallifrey, to the secret planet Miranda, creating a map of a culture that helped define the way I perceive and interact with the world. Years after I watched my first Star Wars film, I'm grateful for the mainstream, even as it has bloated to ingest nerd culture in the past few years. No longer is Star Wars just a campy personal treasure that we had in our box set. Superheroes rule the box office. Anime is omnipresent. I've caught Captain America shields and Konohagagure headbands and green Survey Corps hoodies on my subway commute. Goku has casually flown through the streets of Midtown during the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. For all the ways the visibility of nerd culture has removed the air of cult-like exclusivity around fandoms, it has also made what I do as a culture critic so much easier. Before the superhero boom in the last decade or so, I would never have been able to imagine that comic books and graphic novels and anime and sci-fi and fantasy and everything else in the ever-expanding realm of nerdy pop culture could be something I could write about for major prestige publications. Still, I've gotten the occasional quizzical glance from editors confused by my beat. Theater and books, okay, but anime, sci-fi, comics? You're all over the place, an editor once remarked with some amusement, my resume in hand. And in my worst moments, I'd agree, conceding that I'm erratic in my interests, that the highbrow has no place next to the lowbrow of popular culture. But here, in this book, I hope you won't find me at my worst. Instead, I hope you'll find me at the same spot where I was back in 1996, glued to the TV screen as a farm boy uses his newly awakened powers to summon a laser sword into his hand. To think that the elaborate sets and costumes and puppets and exchanges between princesses and rogues isn't a kind of theater is narrow-minded. To think that dual suns rising in a sky isn't a kind of poetry is absurd. To think that highbrow auteurism, whether it's serious cinema, prestige television, opera, ballet, theater, poetry, or fiction, is threatened by or so far elevated from the vision of a USS Enterprise or the battles of a millennial loafer named Scott Pilgrim is to reject the idea that anything furiously loved by a group of people can be called a fandom, and that anyone who submits to that love and owns it with a passion can be called a nerd. I'm not saying my fandoms are unimpeachable. We also survived George Lucas's cheesiest dialogue and lived to critique them ad infinitum on the internet. But they are worthy of my love and critical attention, not despite, but because of their flaws. Critics are faced with an unfair task, to take an art form they love and break it apart, meticulously examining its pieces. And there's the vision of the critic as a judge of the highest order, a fearsome creature perched on a pedestal. But that person, of course, is a contrivance. It's the job of the critic to be subjective and to love, at least respect, the art form she is examining. She sits in the center of a Venn diagram of fan and critic, with her personal and professional investment being the point of juncture. Before I was a critic, I was a fan. My childhood and now my adulthood has been shaped by my relationship to nerd culture. I expect you, reading this, have your own story about your fandoms, your own thoughts. Perhaps your fandoms intersect with mine. Perhaps they don't. Perhaps you don't define yourself as a nerd at all, hate pop culture, and firmly declare yourself a velvet waistcoated connoisseur of culture, italicized with a capital C, and you've picked up this book only on a whim. If so, nevertheless, welcome. Sit down for a while. Hang up your coat in the blue police call box you'll find in the hall. A bright corgi named Ian can show you the way. I have something to share with you. The most I can offer as a critic to something I love. My time and attention, my reflections and observations, and finally, myself, my personal accounts and memories. Here you'll find my thoughts on ever-growing franchises, anime, convention culture, 90s animated cartoons, Black heroes, time travel narratives, the politics of fantasy and space westerns, Afro-surrealism, boundary-expanding shows about anxiety and mental illness, and gods of multiple worlds. You will encounter a motley crew of Avengers, Sailor Scouts, Saiyans, bounty hunters, Wakandans, samurai, space cowboys, mutants, wizards, psychics, vampire hunters, and Jedi Knights. And you'll see me, through my years of fandoms, cons, and being the best scruffy-looking nerf herder I can be. So now that you're settled in, let's finally begin, for real this time. Again, it's 1996, and I'm watching a story from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. My own story isn't from that long ago, and it's much closer. So I won't mind if you sidle up beside me to see the words angling up on the screen and disappearing out into space. I'm at home here, and I hope you'll be too. May you browse, cull it over, and keep what you like. May you find exciting, fantastic new ways to be a fan. Oh, and may the force be with you.
Thank you, Mona, Gina, and Maya. Those were amazing readings. Thank you so much. And how about the student introductions? So come back here tomorrow. We're going to be just in the lounge across the way. The first panel is at 12:10. And we have an exciting day of events for you. So I hope we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
And we have books for sale.
Oh, yes.
Buffalo Street Books back
Books
in
for
the
sale.
corner. So if you'd like to have all the authors sign their books, please stick around. Thanks.